Hey guys, good morning. Here we are. This is the last one. This is the video, and well, good morning for me. It's 6:30 in the morning here, but whenever you're watching this, it might be good night, good day. So I'm sure you're watching it today, Sunday though, or possibly Monday because that's when the exam is. Anyway, this is the last video of the review problems. So let me just get right into it. Number 5. So in number 5, all I'd like you to do is write the null and alternative hypotheses here. So all I'm asking is for the null and alternative hypotheses. Now, I think this and the last problem I did with just the p-value, this is just to give you really need to be able to do these really quickly. Remember, you only have an hour and a half for the test, so these are the ones that you should kind of just know without having to look them up in your notes, right? And I'll discuss that at the very end of this video. Okay, so let's see if I get through these problems real quickly. So the null hypothesis is that P is equal to 0.8, and the alternative is that P is greater than 0.8, and I get the greater than from the more, right? That's what the professor's trying. Now, you can't just put those two things down. You have to put you have to define P. So P is the proportion of students that enjoy taking his class. I wonder who this professor is. I wonder who this guy could be. Or gal, right? I wouldn't say people enjoy taking my class, but hopefully they don't hate taking my class. It's one thing about the subject. There's nothing about the instructor, right? So let's do number 6 here. This is our actual, hypothesis test here in confidence intervals. So remember that I told you for these confidence intervals, you do not have to write the assumptions and conditions. Although for the hypothesis test you will. So I'm going to go and do the confidence interval here without the conditions, and then I'll put the conditions in my hypothesis test. So this is a 1 prop z interval because we only have one proportion, one sample that we're dealing with. All right, the sample size of 1003, that's n, and that's p hat is 55%. So the formula for this is p hat plus or minus z star times the square root of p hat q hat over n. Remember that q hat is just 1 minus p hat, so it's the probability of failure, I guess, if p hat was the proportion of successes. So we're going to go and plug in what we know here. So we got 0.55 plus or minus z star for 90% confidence is 1.5. I wrote it down here, 1.645. And then the square root of 0.55 times 0.45 over 1003. All right, so then we're going to go and plug that in our calculator and get our confidence interval. And we get 0.524 and 0.576. Remember, with these proportions, these percentages, make sure you got 3 decimal places after the decimal. And then we're going to go and write our conclusion or context, right? Interpret this. We are 90% confident that the true proportion of U.S. adults that feel they got enough sleep. Oops. Wow. I guess even in the morning I have chicken scratch here. Is between 52.4% and 57.6%. All right. Okay, so that is our statement for the confidence interval. All right. So let me just write something down here. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and go on to the test here, hypothesis test. Is there evidence that the majority of the U.S. adults feel that they get enough sleep? That the majority, so we're looking, it says here majority. Majority means 50%. So what we're trying to determine here is that is the population proportion greater, that's our alternative hypothesis, is it greater than 50%? Right? The majority would be anything more than 50%. So remember I have to define my P here. So I have to say P is the proportion of U.S. adults feel, man, I just cannot write. They get enough sleep. Maybe because maybe it's early this morning and maybe I didn't get enough sleep. I'm just kidding. Okay, anyway, let's go and write the conditions. That I can't write my words here, right? So the first condition is that the were they taken at random? Random sample. There we go. So the first one is that there's a random sample. So sample was taken randomly. Second one was that the 1003 is less than 10% of all U.S. adults, and that's pretty obvious, right? Now the third one is the P hat Q hat one. So we basically have to show that the number of successes that we would expect to have happen out of those 103 is greater than or equal to 10. So what we're going to do is we're going to do NP, which is 1003 times 0.5, right? We're getting P actually from the null hypothesis. And that's going to be, it should be like 501, right? Okay, so let's go 502, we'll go up one. And that's greater than or equal to 10, obviously. NQ would be the amount of failures, or the people that did not get enough sleep. And that would just be, if it's 50% here, 50%, that's just, you know, half. So, and they get, we're going to put them as whole numbers because, you know, we can't have half a person in this case that we would expect. So this is what we're going to have, and good, they both check out. We're good to go. We can use a normal distribution, all right? So now that we know we can use a normal distribution, we're going to go and do our mechanics here to find our p-value. So we need to find our z-score. Our z-score is p hat minus p over the square root of pq over n. So p hat was 0.5455. And P was 0.50. Where did I get P hat from? I got P hat from the, you know, up top, the confidence interval. All right. Come on, pen. You guys are probably laughing at this thing. My asses, you can't get your technology to work. Hey, it's not my fault. All right, so then we're going to go and do that and get our p-value. So we get 3.167. So we're going to find the probability that z is greater than 3.167. Now we could see that when we look at the z table, 3.167 is not even on the z table. So that probability is going to be very, very small. So we're just going to write this as less than 0.001. If you really wanted to know, this is 7.7 times 10 to the negative 4. So it's very, very small p-value. But basically, we just want to make sure that it's smaller than our alpha level. In this case, it's so small, it's going to be smaller than any alpha level, even if I had chosen alpha level up top there. So we're going to go and write our conclusion now based on our p-value. Conclusion. All right. Since our p-value is very small, there is strong evidence that the proportion of what are we talking about here? I can't even remember the proportion. Oh, sorry, the proportion of adults. At some point, this computer, it's just slow, guys. Maybe it's because it's the morning. Everyone's slow in the morning. Strong evidence that the proportion of U.S. adults feel they get enough sleep is greater than 50%, right? Okay, so there you go. And listen, folks, I know I said I was going to cut this down in 3 videos, but it looks like the last problem I'm going to have to do on a separate video. It'll be a short video because it's only one problem. But I do want to just mention one thing before I go on. And I forgot, you know what? I forgot what it is I was going to mention. So if I remember it, I'll put it on the next video. Have a good morning, guys. Talk to you later.